was just scrolling on my Instagram feed today, minding my business, and I came across this video.
Why do you guys think that Disney is doing all of this woke content or agenda pushing content, all of that shit? Why do you guys think?
Not necessarily woke, it's just inclusive, right? So there are so many other characters that are in the Marvel universe that you can explore and you can talk about, and their attempts at those things have just failed. So it's not necessarily a woke agenda or woke this or whatever, because you can read comics going back all the way to the 90s and that dialogue is there.
People really hated She-Hulk, but if you go back in the comic books, that's how she was. She broke the fourth wall.
100%.
I fucking liked it. I mean, Deadpool, he came in with the yellow outfit and shit. It was fun. I fucking liked it. I enjoyed it.
You know, I see it in my fucking comments. I see it all over. People like to use the term woke or agenda pushing, and it kind of does seem like there's like somebody, ominous figure in the background that's like pushing these buttons and saying, all right, more girls, more girls, more girls, more diversity, more diversity, less coolness, less, you know, all of that shit. I hate to be that guy because I do want diversity. I just want the women characters to be fire.
All I can say is that this video is really disappointing on so many levels. Not only coming from, you know, from my standpoint as a person of color and a female of color, it's disappointing. People use the word woke when they want to keep the status quo, when they want to keep things the same, you know, and in order for there to be opportunities, and this goes across all sorts of things, not just movies, you know, here we're talking about movies and television shows and the alleged Disney woke agenda, whatever that means. Using those words are when you want to keep things the same, when you don't want things to change, when you don't want things to change because you're threatened somehow. Like maybe is your masculinity threatened? You know, a lot of times we see that word used when it comes to, you know, race relations and stuff. And so for me, you know, as a woman of color, as a Black woman, it is disappointing for me to see this kind of dialogue happening when it comes to movies and representation in movies and TV. Inclusion matters. Inclusion matters. And if you're not even invited to have a seat at the table, then you're not going to be able to have a dialogue. You're not going to be able to be represented, whether it is, you know, LGBTQ issues, you know, civil rights. And I'm looking at this and I'm seeing, you know, this Black man saying this, and the first thing out of his mouth is, you know, is Disney pushing a woke agenda? You know, you guys who know me, you know I'm not always like pulling the race card or whatever. I just don't do that, you know. But as someone who grew up without dolls that looked like me, without people on TV, you know, there were a handful of shows that, you know, that had people of color on them. You know, I'll take it to gaming, which is, you know, my roots are in gaming. I love video games. Every single campaign that you would play most likely is going to be a white male protagonist. That's just what it's been forever. Only recently have there started to even be women protagonists. I mean, yeah, we had Lara Croft, that was about it, you know, and, you know, everything else when it came to women was just all tits and ass, honestly. You want to have a discussion about the way that Disney is portraying things, that's fine. You know, a discussion about bad writing, and one of the guys in the video said that, you know, a question about bad writing, that's a different question, and that's a different topic of discussion than, you know, Disney is pushing a woke agenda or Disney is pushing wokeness down our throats, that kind of dialogue. The video that you showed was from, you know, the Avengers movie, and it's that moment in the movie where all the females show up. Was it gratuitous? Yes, it was gratuitous. But I was okay with it because I thought it was pretty cool. I thought it was pretty cool to see women, you know, represented like that. You can call it woke if you want. I call it representation. If the higher ups, if the producers, if the writers don't make a decision to include people of color or to include gay and lesbian characters or queer characters, if they don't make a decision to do that and to make it happen, then it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. We have had years and years and years of where we only see one certain look on television or in movies, or the people that are getting the biggest roles on TV or the biggest roles are, you know, white people. We've seen that for a long time. There was a long time that Black people were just relegated to the drug dealers and the prostitutes and the sassy sidekick, the sassy secretary or whatever. We were always sidekicks. We were always in a supporting role versus being, you know, the main people on the screen. So some people would say that same thing with seeing more people of color represented in films and TV shows. You know, they would say, oh, why are they pushing this? Why are they pushing this? Why does that character have to be Asian? Why does that character have to be Hispanic? Why does that character have to be Black? If you do not make a conscious decision to include minority characters in whatever form it takes, it's not going to happen. And so listening to this discussion, it's disappointing. You know, you want to say that, you know, you want to see badass female characters. So do I. So do I. I would love to see badass female characters. I still don't have a Storm movie. I still don't have a Storm movie. We had that weak ass Storm played by Halle Berry. No offense, Halle Berry, I love you, but I do not like the way that Storm was written in those movies. You know, I know her from the comics. She is very strong and she is a leader. That is not how she was portrayed in those movies. Those movies were a very long time ago and we still don't have that. We still don't have that. Don't sit here and tell me that you are somehow offended by seeing strong women on the TV screen or seeing strong women on the movie screen. That one 30-second pan of the women showing up to fight and come in and fight and stick together offended you so badly that you can't get past it. And I've had conversations with people in real life about this. And, you know, I have a friend of mine who was really, really bothered by that scene, very bothered by that scene, to the point where he said that he was taken out of the movie. I was completely taken out of the movie when that happened. Why are you mad, bro? Like, why are you so offended by that? I don't get that. I don't get that. As a female gamer, as someone who loves, you know, like all things nerdy and superheroes and stuff, it took until very recently that we even got a Wonder Woman movie. Arguably the biggest female superhero on the planet. And we just got a Wonder Woman movie. I just don't know where the upset is. If you want to talk about bad writing, that's a separate conversation, you know. But let me tell you something. We have had to endure male characters and heterosexual characters in all sorts of ways. Bad writing, bad concepts, movies that get greenlit and you're like, how the hell did y'all pour money into this movie? You know, there are plenty of movies that we see and we're like, oh my God, like how did they get money for that? Just using the word woke about things really diminishes what you're talking about. I'm just gonna say it. It really diminishes what you're talking about. And it lumps it in with a bunch of other stuff that I don't feel is necessarily what you mean. I'm gonna hope that that's not what you mean. As a female gamer, like I said, I've had to play as a male for most of my life. For most of my life, I've had to play as a male character, whether it's GTA, whether it is Call of Duty, whether it is Uncharted. All of these games that I like to play, they all have male protagonists. Yeah, there are females in them, but they're the sidekicks, you know? So when you get a strong female lead, that shouldn't threaten you. That shouldn't be like, why are they pushing this agenda? It's life, man. It's life. When I've been on these film sets and I see the people behind the camera and most of the people, most every single person on the camera, from on the film set, from the camera operators to the casting people to just the production assistants to the people in charge of craft services that bring you your food, like the sound person that's holding the microphone, the grips and the people that are setting up the shots and the people who are making sure the set is right. Guess what? 96.5% of those people are white. We have not been able to get a seat at that table. And so when you see things like there's certain, you know, directors that, you know, female directors who will make a film and the whole film is made with women behind the scenes and women, you know, in front of the camera and women behind the camera. They made a conscious decision to do that, to show you that it can be done. They made a conscious decision to do that, to show you that it can be done. And you are really diminishing these people's talents, and you're diminishing, you know, what the possibilities are when you just wash your hands of it and you just say, this is woke. So you're diminishing these storylines that represent real life. You're diminishing these characters that exist in real life. Gay characters exist. Strong females exist. They may not be written the best. To me, that's another discussion. When I look at a character like Superman, that for me was very kind of messed up, like the way that it was written and the way that he was portrayed in the Henry Cavill films. You don't see the outrage. You don't see the outrage for that. For a character that is a beloved character that was portrayed very well by Christopher Reeves and the writing in those old movies. The Superman movies, as far as I'm concerned, they were subpar with the writing, with the character motivations, the ham-fistedness of some of the scenes and stuff. But you don't see the outrage. You don't see the outrage over that. But you put 7 strong women in a shot for 30 seconds and people lose their minds. And I don't get that. There's room to have a seat at the table. There's room to discuss and to show these characters and to show these relationships, you know, to show 2 men kissing, to show 2 ladies kissing without it being an agenda. It's called representation. If things stayed the status quo, if things stayed the same as they've been for years and years and years, like when I was growing up, then no, we wouldn't have black Barbie dolls. We wouldn't have, you know, such a diverse cast of leading men in movies. You know, people could say that, oh, well, why is Denzel that person? Why is Denzel that lead? You know, they're pushing a woke agenda because they cast Will Smith as that character instead of a white man that we're used to seeing. The way you say things do matter, and maybe you're just saying this just to get a conversation started, which is great. If that's the case, I really hope that's the case. You know, love it or hate it, like Ms. Marvel, the fact that they were putting a Muslim character on the screen, I think that's cool. I think it's cool. It wasn't my favorite show. You know, I don't think it was for me. It wasn't my favorite show, but I think it's cool that it exists. It's cool that it exists because those characters exist. Those people exist. I mean, there are way more Asian leads and way more Asian representation on camera now and on screen now. Asian people used to just only be relegated to the Kung Fu movies. That was okay for Asian people to be in Kung Fu movies. But now you're getting Asian leading men, you're getting Asian leading women. I just started watching Mr. and Mrs. Smith on Amazon with Donald Glover and Maya Erskine. You have a TV show on Prime that features a black male lead and an Asian female lead. And they're spies. Those characters could literally be anyone. They could literally be anyone, and they're spies. But Amazon gave the money for them to produce this TV show in this format and in this way. There are plenty of people that might look at that show and say, oh, you know, oh, they're pushing a woke agenda because, you know, they have a black male lead and they have an Asian female lead. You know, they're pushing an agenda. Now, that just really bothered me, and I had to get on here and say something about it, just because there's always room for discussion. There's always room for discussions, and there's always room to figure out how we can make things better, right? And if you want to say, you know, it seems like somebody up there is just saying, you know, we need to push this and we need to show this. Yeah, you do need to push it. You do need to show it, because it's important. It's important. It's important. And when you're looking at superheroes, these are people who don't even exist, y'all. They don't even exist. You know, they exist on the written page, but there's so many superheroes were created because of the civil rights movement, you know, because of, you know, in response to what was going on in our country specifically. There's so many things that you look at and you see the parallels in, you know, regular culture and the parallels that you see in the comics and in the comic books. And, you know, Stan Lee was very instrumental in introducing characters and, you know, really kind of humanizing through mutants and through, you know, superheroes and superpowered people, really kind of shining a light on the parallels and the struggles and, you know, the trials and tribulations of people. So if you just want to paint a broad brush and say, oh, that's woke, then we wouldn't have a lot of the characters that you're bitching about right now. We wouldn't even have those characters. They wouldn't even exist, because someone would have said, oh, you know what, that's too woke. That's too much pushing an agenda, so we can't have that character. Historically speaking, you have to look at it over time. You have to look at it as what you have not seen in the past, what has not been represented, and what's being represented now. Whether it's good or bad, that's another conversation altogether, because I do have thoughts on, you know, obviously on way that things could be better and way that people could be represented better in movies and TV shows, and especially when it comes to, you know, superheroes and stuff. And gaming as well. Shout out to Rockstar Games for giving a female Hispanic lead in the next GTA 6 if we ever see it. But I digress. As someone who's not always been represented in the best light, I would hope that you would see how representation matters. And you know, thank you to the guy on the video who did actually state that. But that's all. That's all. I just wanted to get on here and say that, and definitely want to create a dialogue and let's talk about the problems with Marvel and the problems with you know, some of the things that they've been producing as of late. The issues are more so the writing, I think, and not so much the subject matter or the characters that they choose to shine a light on. So that's all. That's my 2 cents. Take it or leave it. But yeah, anyway, thanks for watching. If you made it this far, thanks for watching. And yeah, I'll see you later. Bye.